Hello again, everybody. Great to see you. Thanks so much for coming along to this afternoon's deep dive session. So, as I've said and as advertised, this is a session about using what's called a sequencer to create music and to record. Now, I'm going to be demonstrating using a piece of software which comes with or is freely available for anybody with an Apple device, such as an iPhone, or iPad, or a Mac. It's called GarageBand or GarageBand, depending on whereabouts in the world you come from. Now, this doesn't mean that this is just for Apple users, because the techniques that I'll be talking about this afternoon apply to all sequences, and I'm going to use GarageBand as an example of these, but there are so many others that you can use. If you're using a PC, then if you have a look in the description for today's video, don't necessarily go there now, but I've got some links there that will show you some examples of sequences you can download and use for free. And as I say, the techniques that I teach you today will apply to those things. The other thing I want to start by saying is that this is in no way a comprehensive course. If you've never used this software before, chances are you'll see some stuff today you think, wow, I really want to do that, but I'm not going to be able to go into the kind of huge depth that you need to in order to be able to do everything. As I've said, I've been using this software for 20 years. I'm still finding new things to do with it, and so I would say if you are really fired up by this, well, have a look at the links in the description and follow those, because there's some really useful links to take you through the basics of using this kind of software. And then let me know if you enjoy it. If you want me to do more sessions like this, I can absolutely do it. So today, everybody, we're looking at, as I say, composing using a sequencer. And if I can just bring my my thing on screen here, bear with me a moment. There we are. So here's my slide for today. So we're going to be talking about using this type of software. And if you've ever used a program like Microsoft Word or what have you, there's a lot of comparisons, I think. It's a big program. It can do all sorts of things. You can use it to do very basic stuff like just putting together a page of text, or in GarageBand's case, just record a bit of audio, or you can do everything to write a full textbook in Microsoft Word, or to produce a full isolated choir performance using GarageBand. So it's very flexible. You can get lots out of it at a basic level. You can get even more out of it at an advanced level. So this afternoon we'll talk about the basics of a sequencer, what it does and what you're looking for when you open up this software, and we'll talk about the three main ways that you get music out of a sequencer. One is using something called loops. The other is using software instruments, where you play some notes on a keyboard or on a device and it plays sound on the computer. And the third is by capturing audio. Now, if you're not technically minded, please don't worry about making notes on how this all works. I just think there's something to be gained from looking at what I do behind the scene to create a lot of our backing tracks and our recordings. Okay, so on that, if I can just show you here, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who were just with me on the Quarantine Chorus broadcast, well, there you are. That is what Oh for a Closer Walk with God looks like behind the scenes. We've peeled back the front layer of the sound, and that is what it looks like. And it is sitting within the window of GarageBand here in the UK. And if I press play at the top here, it'll start playing. Okay, and you can probably see, I'll turn it down a tiny bit, that it sort of makes sense logically as to how it's working. We've got layers of sound. Lovely, thank you, Anna, beautifully sung. We've got this line here which moves from left to right, and as it moves from left to right, the music proceeds. And the speed with which the playhead, that's what this moves, that's what this is called, the speed with which that moves dictates the tempo of the piece. So if that was flying across, it'd be playing at a ridiculous tempo. Up here at the top, everybody, and you'll find this on all sequences, we've got what's called the transport. And so we've got rewind, fast forward, back to the beginning, play and record. Okay, very similar functions to the kind of thing you used to have on the old VHS recorders, and any device that records, you'll see these basic buttons, and they work exactly as you'd imagine they do. Okay, now what I'm going to do before we dive into this and get too carried away, what I want to do is just to show you that if you're using any any similar software, so this is Audacity, which some of you I know use, which is a piece of free software, and is on the PC and on the Mac. You can see here we get the same figures here, slightly different shapes, slightly different color schemes, but it's basically the same thing. You've got pause, play, stop, back to the beginning, take it to the end, and record. And so what I mean with this is, when you're looking at a piece of software like this, look out for those symbols. Look out for play, rewind, start, stop. It's your way of orienting yourself within the window. And I was talking to a colleague of mine who said it's a bit like when you go to a supermarket. It almost doesn't matter which brand you're going to, you know, whether it's here in the UK, if it's Tesco's or Sainsbury's or Lidl or so on. You know that there's going to be a bakery section somewhere, there's going to be a fruit and vegetable section. You don't necessarily know where it is, but you know what you're looking for. Okay, so that's the first thing to say when you're experiencing life in a sequencer. Well, you know, you look for your various buttons. Okay, now let's just quickly return to the GarageBand window. Now the order of the tracks really doesn't matter. I see some people are saying, oh, but the soprano part's at the bottom and so on. The reason that is that's the order I recorded them in. Now, it really doesn't matter, except, excuse me a second, it doesn't matter which order they come in unless you are being particularly fastidious and wanting to arrange things in a particular order. I tend to start at the top and work down. So here you can see I started with the organ part. I then added another organ part and so on. I filled in so that I had the sound of different stops. And then I recorded the bass part because I'm a bass. I then sang tenor and then sang alto, and then I asked Anna to come in and sing soprano, so it went down in that order. Okay, I'm going to leave this window for now, folks, because this is a sort of an end product. What I'd like to do is to take you through the steps of doing something yourself. Okay, it's all very well looking at this as someone who's been using it for years, but how do you get sound out of GarageBand, out of GarageBand? Okay, so I'm going to close this down for now. We'll come back to it. Do I want to save? No. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here an empty project, everybody. Okay, so I double click here. Now it's going to change the shape of the window briefly, which is a little bit annoying, so bear with me a second. And I'm just going to have to resize this. It by default opens it to the full page size, which is not quite what I'm broadcasting. So there we are. Lovely. So now here we have an empty window, and I'm actually going to get rid of that track here because this is what you see when it comes up, and we're only interested today in these two types of tracks. Okay, and this is where my first slide here becomes important, this business of loops, software instruments and audio. Okay, now some of you, this is going to go right over your heads, and if it does, let it. Okay, it's not necessarily essential to get this at this point, but there is a difference when you're using a piece of software like this in how you capture the sound. Okay, so this blue track here, which has a microphone, that is recorded sound using an actual mic like this one down here. Okay, and if I double click on that, if I create that, it's going to create a blue audio track, and you can see as I'm speaking it's lighting up. If I press record, let's just record a bit of audio here. Okay, so you'll hear a count in. Do bing, do bang, do bong, do bing, do bang, do bong. Do be ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Do be ding a di bing, ding a di bang, ding a di bong. I hit the space bar to stop recording. I can take that back to the beginning using my button up here. Press play. If I turn off the metronome, so it's recorded it for me without the click. Okay, fabulous. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the plus here. I'm going to add another one of those windows. And now I've got two layers. And if I press record, I'll hear what I just recorded, and I'll be able to record along with myself. Let's try that. Do bing, do bang, do bong, do bing, do bang, do bong. Do bing, do bang, do bong, do bing, do bang, do bong. Do be ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Do be ding a di bing, ding a di bang, ding a di bong. All right, so I've got two tracks now. How fantastic. If I had a third one, and fourth and so on. I can multi-track it. Now I could record it individually, but because these are blocks of data on the computer, I can copy them. So I can go up here to edit and copy from the menu, and then down here and I can paste it. So again, edit, paste. And if I can just drag this back a little bit, I can now move this around. So we can see, oh, bear with me a moment, ladies and gentlemen, technology never works when you want it to. I'm going to just change the scaling of this slightly. There we are. Okay, so if I now have that starting a little bit later, we've got 3 now. Do bing, do bang, do bong, do bing, do bang, do bong, do bang, do bong, do bing, do bang, do bing, do bang, do bong. It's not quite in time, so I just move it left and right until it is. Okay, great. It doesn't sound great, but it's all right. Now, one of the things that you can do with this software, and I always used to say to my students, when you're recording audio like this, when you're multi-tracking your voice, and of course you can all do this with your devices, it doesn't have to be an Apple device. You can get Audacity and you can record yourself doing this. You can do this with any sequencer. And any of these rounds that I've taught you, stuff like do bing, do bang, do bong with a breakfast song or so on, as long as you sing along to a click and you're only hearing the click in your headphones, you can multi-track yourself. Okay, but when you multi-track yourself, what you want to do is you don't want to give the impression that it's just this sort of homogenous group, and it's quite hard to hear what everyone's doing. So here we need to introduce a new little technique, and you'll find this this here on GarageBand. But if you're looking on Audacity, you're looking for something down here. This is called panning. Okay, and panning is whether you're hearing it through the left or the right speaker or somewhere in between. And again, what I'd say to my students is, imagine when you're looking at the stage, you've got your musicians. I've got 3 singers here in my ensemble. You're going to want to have them as if they're standing in a line in front of you rather than standing all in a row, because it would sound really odd if you had one person at the front, one person behind, and so on. So I'm going to pan my first song, my first voice to the left, and my second one to the right, and leave the other one in the middle. Okay, so let's see what that sounds like. So that creates a sense of space on the stereo field, and that's something you can do. I mean, that was a couple of clicks. I haven't had to play in any notes. I haven't had to use a single bit of sheet music. I just pressed record, sang, press record again, sang again, press record, done a bit of panning to create the stereo field. And you can do that as many times as you like. When I've been mixing your performances, everybody, the Ave Verum Corpus and the Cat Duet, everybody had a particular place in the stereo field, so that it didn't sound like everyone and was sort of standing in front of anyone or singing over them. Now, another little tip, and you can do this in Audacity as well, is to use reverb, which is down here in the bottom right on GarageBand. I'm going to drag that up, and if I just turn on this bit, if I turn this up, you can start to hear, Patchway Cathedral. And I'll do that for each track. Turn the reverb sort of 3/4 of the way up to give a big cathedral sound. And now, let's play. It sounds like we're in a big space. Etc. Okay, so there we have really the first toe in the water with this program. Now, people are asking, is Audacity the Windows version of GarageBand? Not really. Audacity allows you to capture sound like this. Okay, so if you like the look of this, Audacity will absolutely work like this for you. I would say to everybody, if you've never tried this before, be really, really careful before you record anything. And this is a really important health and safety point. Make sure your computer audio, your main computer audio, your volume control up and down, make sure that is set to about 60%. Okay, because it is quite easy when you're clicking around to click the wrong thing and get feedback through your headphones. So just be careful, all right, and just be careful what you click so you don't end up with that sound. Feedback is caused very, very quickly by a microphone and a speaker. When the speaker plays out and the microphone captures a bit of that sound, plays it through, amplifies it, plays out again, captures the sound, amplifies it, plays it out, boom, 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 and that's where you get that. Okay, the first sign of that, take the headphones off and hit mute. and that will solve the problem. Okay, just a bit of health and safety there. So everybody, that's the first thing there. You can just press record. You can do this on your phone as well with your iPad. If you select the microphone, press record, you can sing and you can multi-track yourself really, really easily. Try a bit of panning, try a bit of reverb. I mean, whenever I record, I always try and use a bit of reverb so you get that feedback. Which is so essential. Now, those of you who are recording for things like Self-Isolation Choir and for me on Home Choir, you can record yourself in GarageBand whilst listening to it, the recording track on another device, and you can edit it in this. Okay, I might do a session on that in future because I think that would be quite useful. But what I want to do today is to use another part of this piece of software, which is loops. All right, so I'm actually going to get rid of Do Bing Do Bang Do Bong, marvelous fun as it was. And what I'm going to do, everybody, is I'm going to go over to the top right of my screen here, and I'm going to click this little round button here. Now, if at any point, if you're in this software or something like this, you think, I don't know what these buttons do, just move your mouse over the button, then take your hand off it. And what you'll see is it'll give you a little preview. This is rewind. You see, it says forward. And I'm not touching that, not making that come up. The program is doing it for me. So you think, where's loops? So you move your hand over it and so on, move it down the end, and it says loop browser. Okay. Now the loops here, these are great fun. Okay. These are just little snippets of music. Think of them like Lego blocks. You can grab them and drag them in, and you can build a piece really quickly. Now I'm just going to make sure this doesn't blast our ears out here. You've got all sorts of things. You've got sort of a nice piano here. Bit of Elton John sort of thing. We've got sort of dance synth from the 80s. Acoustic guitar. Strange harpsichord patterns and so on. Now you might notice here we've got a mixture of blue and green. Now the difference here is really interesting. The blue is sound, is recorded sound. So the Do Bing Do Bang Do Bong that I just did, you notice it was all in blue. It's audio. Okay, it's a sound captured from a microphone and recorded. And once it's recorded, you can then edit it. These green tracks are slightly different. And what this is called MIDI. And this is where I play some information in, either on my keyboard here, or I can input it in other ways. And what it does is, instead of it capturing my sound through a microphone, it takes my data when I press the key and it plays a sound on the computer instead. Okay, and you might think, what does that mean? Well, let me show you. Let's start off with, let's choose something. I want something nice and fairly gentle. What have we got here? Let's see. We've got some chords. What's that? That's all right. We've got an organ here. No. Oh, this is a nice one. Okay, let's take a nice piano here. Right, so I like that sound. I'm going to drag it in. And it's created a block here. And notice I haven't had to play anything in. I don't need to be able to read music. I just listened. I mean, I like that one. I dragged it in. If I press play, it'll play it for me. I'll turn it up a bit. That's quite nice, isn't it? Now you can see already it looks different from the blue tracks, and you'll find this no matter what sequencer you use. If you've got a sequencer that'll let you work with loops, some of them will be audio and some of them will be MIDI. And if I just click on here, we can see down at the bottom, it shows me the notes. And if I click on each individual note, I can actually edit this block, which is brilliant. If I take it back to the beginning, listen to it again. Michael's asking, do you need a separate microphone to plug into use Audacity? It's a really good question. You don't have to. Most devices will have one plugged built in. I've bought this little one, which I use for recording on this. You can get microphones for 10, 15 quid. You will find it's a better quality for the most part than the stuff that the built-in microphones. All right, really good question. So we've got this little block of sound, and it's quite nice. I quite like it. The only problem is it stops. 2, 3, bar 3, bar 4, and you want it to carry on. So you've got an option here. You can either drag in another one, and remember, if you've got GarageBand on your phone, on your iPad, on your Mac, you can do this. There are loops built in to GarageBand that you can build this on. So you can either grab another one and build it one after the other. I'm just going to zoom out slightly using this here so I can see it. Or here's a nice little thing. You can go up to the top right-hand corner, and this works on the iPad as well, and just drag it across like that. And that's going to play over and over and over again. Here we go. again, I haven't had to play a single note in so far. That's quite nice. Back to the beginning. So I've got a little sort of just a bit of pianos, but it's not quite enough. I think I want something else. I want a guitar maybe. So have they got any nice... I think there was some nice some nice acoustic guitar stuff. What have we got? We've got, oh no, Chrome Crusher bass. Some of these are absolutely hilarious. Right, let's have a look at classic rock. Oh, that's bass. Oh, that's quite nice. I just want a little something. So let's drag that in. Okay, now we're going to pan it. We'll have the piano one side, we'll have the guitar the other side. Let's have a listen. That's quite nice. Now, if we have that looped, it's probably going to get a bit boring. So in order so that doesn't get boring, let's have a look, listen to some of the others. That's not so good. That's quite nice. We do have one issue, which we'll talk about in a minute, but let's drag it in and let's put it somewhere like that. That's good, and we'll just loop that again. So let's have a listen. I can already tell that we've got a problem, but we can sort it. Here we go. Now, there we are. We had a problem there. We can hear there's a problem with that note, okay? You don't need to know what note it is, but you can hear it's wrong. It's because we've got a minor against a major. So I'm just going to drag this note down just one space. So it goes from F sharp to an F. And we can do that by ear. I know it takes a bit of practice, but this is the thing. You can edit these loops, and it's entirely up to you what you do with them. You don't need to be able to read the notes. If you can read the notes, however, it does give you the option of reading them here. All right, but I'm going to use this view instead. So let's have a listen. Does this work? That's quite nice, actually. Okay, so I've got it panned. I've got a nice guitar. So let's add in some vocals. Now, again, I haven't written any of this down. This is all emerging live on the internet, which is all fun. So let's get a bit of, I don't know, a bit of humming in the background or something. Let's see. Can I hear myself? Yes, I can. Do I have enough reverb? Probably. Right. So I'm just going to hum. Let's have a bit of humming. So here we go. I missed it. One more time. I could go on, but I've got people here. So we've got one track recorded. I think I'll do another one of those. And again, notice I'm not writing it down. I'm not painstakingly, does this fit? I'm using my ears and I'm just sort of singing around. If it doesn't work, I can always record it again and again and again. All right, so experiment, play around with it. So I started, I'll start a third above. Let's try there. And someone's saying this sounds like hold music. It does, actually. I should go into business doing that. So far I've got 2 tracks. I'm going to pan those as well. I'm going to make sure they've got lots of reverb. And we can have a listen to just those vocals on their own if we just solo those and just have a listen. You're being a bit louder, couldn't they? So I'm just going to turn that up here. Bad for just sort of moving around. So let's have one more. I think we need an alto part, don't we? Of course we need alto. So here we go. Notice not a single scrap of music is here. I'm not writing on paper. I use these loops and I'm just improvising and recording and seeing what works. That's the trick to this. There's no kind of definite way of doing it. It's what sounds good. So here we go. So we started, I'll start there this time. Here we go. Etc., etc., etc. Okay, now, slight bit of trickery there. I can now loop all of that, everything we've just recorded, and there we have our track. So I'm just going to pan that a little bit more, turn that up. Let's have a listen to what we've got so far. Here we go. So we've got a sort of a foundation, really. And all you then need to do is get some lyrics and some words and improvise a tune over the top, and you've got a song, or at least the start of one. And I'm not suggesting that this is, I'm not suggesting that I've written a song. What I've written here is an introduction and perhaps the first couple of lines of a song. But if you were minded and you had the time to sit down and work with these loops and spend the kind of time that, composers do, you can create something really quite impressive without having to read a single dot of music, without having to write anything down. It's all just there, and all these devices are touch screen enabled. Who knows what you can create. I would honestly suggest some of you, if you've got these devices, just have a play around. Now I'm going to have a go at a song here, and I'm going to use the words we used last week. All right, so time for a bit of Spike Milligan, everybody. Here we go. Actually, no, hang on. Let's turn up the reverb. I think this needs a proper big sound. La 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 la. There we go. Right, here is our song, I Eat My Peas with Honey. Intro. I eat my peas with honey. I've done so all my life. It makes the peas taste funny, but it keeps them on the knife. 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 And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Not the finest example of the breed, but something composed in about 10 minutes without having to play anything in. I didn't use my fingers to play any of that. I improvised the vocals very much based on what I was hearing, and in the end it's a combination of loops and audio, and then mixing it with a bit of panning and a bit of reverb, and you can end up with something actually that sounds okay. So I'm just going to very quickly save that and just bring back the project that we started with, which was Oh for a Closer Walk with God. And what you can see here, everybody, is it's pretty much the same. The organ here at the top, well, I played that in, but that's using MIDI, so it can trigger these rather nice organ sounds I've got on the Apple. I added some reverb to create the space of the cathedral, and when it was ready, I added Anna's voice and everybody else's. But of course, if you've recorded in this way, you have complete control over what you're doing. So if I just want to listen to just the alto tenor bass here, I can have, here we go. So some nice reverb there. I've panned it left and right. It's all just these basic techniques that I've just gone over, just writ large. Now, I'm not suggesting that if you've never done this before, you can pick this up this afternoon and create Oh for a Closer Walk with God, but you can absolutely create a little piece with loops that you enjoy, that is your piece. And as I always used to say to young people when they came in and they worked with it, if you've made the decision to drop that block there and that block there, it is absolutely your music. So I would suggest to you, if you have any access to anything like this on PC or on Mac, and remember, this is a Mac piece of software, but there's other things. There's Fruity Loops, that's a great piece of software. software, BandLab, Soundation. There's all sorts of links in the comments and in the description for today. Go and have a look and go and have a play and see what you can come up with. Now, next week, we're going to be looking at how to actually use a piece of notation software called MuseScore, which again is free. It's PC and Mac, and this is where you can see the score on screen, use the mouse to click notes in, and then you press play and it plays it back for you. So it's great fun, and particularly for those of you that read notes and even want to learn how to read dots and lines, it's a really, really good piece of software. So join me next week for that. If you've enjoyed this today, do let me know. Write to us at anna@homechoir.uk, and Anna will be very, very grateful for your feedback. And we'll have a look perhaps at putting together something a little bit more detailed about this particular piece of software as we go forwards. And one more thing, I'm going to be starting to share a little bit more about the background and the mixes as we go. So look out in future sessions for edited videos of me creating the mixes of you singing, which I think would be interesting to those of you who are keen users of this software and want to learn a little bit more about how to use it to create virtual choir performances. So that's coming soon as well. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you ever so much for your time this afternoon. I concede if this is not anything you've done before, your eyes will probably be spinning, but you know, that's to be expected. At least you now know what this software can do, a little bit about what it can do. And if you're interested in, well, follow that, have a look on Google, have a look on YouTube, and you can find even more detail about how to use this great kit. So if you're in self-isolation choir, I'll see you later on for our rehearsals. Otherwise, I'll see you on Friday for our Fun Friday, and look forward to seeing you then. So everyone, have a great day. All the very best. See you soon. Bye-bye.